The sharp hiss of the aircraft doors opening was drowned out by the bustle of Logan International Airport's Terminal E. Outside, Boston labored through a cold, steel-gray afternoon, the kind that bit through your coat and made your breath visible in clouds. Inside the terminal, it was business as usual, hectic, humid, and loud, a blur of languages, tired footsteps, recycled air, and the clinking of wheeled luggage over linoleum. Among the latest arrivals from Flight 482 out of Zurich, one figure moved differently from the rest, not faster, not slower, just with a quiet certainty that parted the chaos around her. Dr. Lorraine Whitaker, 52, walked with the composed grace of someone who had long learned that commanding a room didn't always require speaking. She wore cream trousers, a navy blouse tucked with neat precision, and a finely tailored camel coat draped over her shoulders. Her skin bore the deep tone of polished walnut, and her coiled hair, once jet black, now shimmered with elegant streaks of silver. There was no name tag, no uniform, no obvious sign of rank or status. But her presence was enough. Lorraine was exhausted. The 12-hour flight had capped off nearly 3 weeks of relentless diplomacy and late-night defense briefings at a strategic summit in Geneva. All she wanted now was the sanctuary of her Boston brownstone, a hot bath, and a video call with her daughter, Sasha, whose laugh had a way of pulling the tension from her chest like a warm current. But tranquility wasn't in the cards. As Lorraine emerged from the jet bridge into the main corridor, something in the air shifted a near imperceptible change, like the weight of a glance or the whisper of danger in a war room. She slowed subtly, scanning without turning her head. To her left, under a gleaming billboard advertising luxury Swiss watches, 2 uniformed men stood stiffly by a pillar, their eyes lazily raking the disembarking crowd. The first was Sergeant Ronald Caffrey, a barrel-chested man with ruddy cheeks and a permanent scowl, as if the world owed him gratitude for showing up. His belt sagged slightly with the weight of his gear. Next to him was Officer Dane Millhouse, younger, slighter, clearly still rehearsing the arrogance his mentor wore like a badge. Lorraine didn't need their names to know their type. She'd seen them in war zones and war rooms, in policy briefings and press conferences. Men who mistook authority for wisdom, power for respect. Their eyes locked on her. She felt it before she saw it. Caffrey nudged Millhouse. A low chuckle. Then the 2 men began to move through the crowd, not with urgency, but with the swagger of assumed superiority. Lorraine kept walking, her carry-on trailing behind her with a soft roll. Her pulse didn't quicken. Her expression didn't change. But every nerve in her body stood at attention. "Excuse me, ma'am," Caffrey said as he stepped into her path, one hand on his utility belt. "We need to see your identification. No introduction. No greeting. Just a command." Lorraine stopped. "Is there a reason I'm being detained?" she asked, her voice calm, low, and firm. Her gaze met his, unblinking. "Routine screening," Millhouse said quickly, avoiding her eyes. "Random checks on passengers arriving from Europe." Random. Lorraine looked around. A businessman in front of her, white, suited, clearly jet-lagged, had just walked past unbothered. Behind her, a young couple, white as well, laughed about navigating customs. Of all the passengers in that crowd, only she had been chosen. She said nothing, just reached in her purse and handed over her state-issued ID with steady fingers. Caffrey inspected it like a game show host handed a fake prize. "Beacon Hill address," he said with a smirk. "Nice neighborhood." "It is," Lorraine replied evenly. "You fly business class often, Dr. Whitaker?" he asked, gesturing to her luggage and her clothes with mock admiration. Lorraine gave no reply. He leaned closer. "What exactly do you do?" "My occupation isn't relevant to this screening," she said. Millhouse stepped forward, resting one hand on his baton. "Cooperation is expected, ma'am." People had begun to slow around them. A ripple of discomfort. A businessman paused. A teenage girl glanced nervously at her phone. One man lifted his phone and began recording discreetly. Caffrey noticed but didn't flinch. He liked an audience. "I asked you a question," he growled. "Or would you prefer we move this elsewhere?" Lorraine's eyes narrowed. I'm an advisor on U.S. defense policy, she said. Caffrey scoffed. And I'm Santa Claus. His voice was thick with disbelief and something uglier. Contempt. The racial undertone was unspoken but unmistakable. Someone like you, he sneered, dressed like that, coming off a plane from Zurich, carrying a bag that cost more than my rent. Come on. Who are you trying to impress? Lorraine straightened her spine. I'd like to speak to your supervisor. That did it. Caffrey's nostrils flared. You think you can bark orders at law enforcement? He turned to Milhouse. Obstructing an investigation. Cuff her. No, Lorraine said quickly, stepping back. You have no legal basis. Her sentence was cut off by Milhouse grabbing her wrist and yanking it behind her. The other followed. The cold metal of the cuffs bit into her skin. Pain shot through her shoulders. Gasps echoed. Someone dropped their coffee. A child began to cry. Phones were up now, lots of them. She wasn't a senior military strategist returning from duty anymore. She was a headline in the making. Still, Lorraine did not scream. She did not plead. Her chin lifted, her jaw clenched. She looked Caffrey square in the face. This is a mistake, she said with quiet conviction. Oh, sure, he sneered, his breath sour. Call your lawyer. Or your congresswoman. Hell, call the president. I don't need a lawyer, Lorraine said. I need one phone call. Milhouse hesitated. Caffrey waved him off. Let her. Won't change a damn thing. He dug into her purse and handed her phone to Milhouse, who placed it against her ear. Lorraine's fingers, still bound, pressed the screen. She didn't dial a regular number. She entered a code long, complex, military grade. The line clicked once. Delta Secure Command, a voice answered. This is Colonel Lorraine Whitaker. Authorization code, 7 Bravo Charlie 195. There was silence. Then another voice firmer, clearer. Colonel Whitaker, confirme location. Logan International, Terminal E, near Carousel 4. I am in restraints. No charges given. Detained by 2 Port Authority officers. No legal justification. The line went dead. Caffrey raised an eyebrow. What kind of games are you playing? But Milhouse was already pale. He looked at Lorraine with dawning horror. Did she just say? Yes, Lorraine said. United States Army. And you're about to have a very long day. The silence that followed was thunderous. 8 minutes later, 3 matte black SUVs rolled to a halt outside the terminal. Uniformed military police stepped out, followed by officials from Homeland Security and Internal Affairs. At the same time, Port Authority's command staff burst in through the side entrance. Captain Dana Rosales, head of Internal Affairs, spotted Lorraine immediately. Her gaze dropped to the red marks on Lorraine's wrists. Her voice was ice. You're done, she said to Caffrey. Both of you. Weapons. Badges. Now. Caffrey sputtered. This is a misunderstanding. No. The misunderstanding was thinking your badge made you above the law, Rosales said sharply. You didn't just profile a U.S. citizen. You handcuffed a colonel in the Department of Defense. In the days that followed, the video went viral. Civil rights groups called it a modern-day Rosa Parks moment. The Pentagon released a statement confirming her identity and condemning the treatment. Interviews poured in. Lorraine declined all of them. She didn't want to become a symbol. She just wanted to be treated with dignity. The trial came swiftly. Both officers were charged with unlawful detainment, abuse of authority, and racially motivated misconduct. The court was packed. Lorraine testified without anger but with precision. She spoke not of vengeance, but of accountability. The prosecution played the airport footage frame by frame. The jury watched as Caffrey's smirk twisted on screen. They heard his voice, his disbelief, his mockery. In the end, the verdict came without hesitation. Caffrey was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. Milhouse, whose participation had been more complicit than aggressive, received 2. Neither wore a badge again. As for Lorraine, she returned quietly to Washington, her duties uninterrupted. She didn't speak of the incident in meetings or interviews. She didn't use it for political leverage. But she remembered, because even with medals on her chest and the highest clearances in the land, a simple walk through an airport had shown her what so many live daily. That respect is not always given freely. And sometimes justice isn't offered, it must be demanded.